There were increased delinquencies in 9 categories. Home equity loan delinquencies rose 4.38% in the second quarter from 4.12% in the first quarter. Mobile home loan delinquencies fell to 3.62% from 3.74%. Personal loan delinquencies rose to 3.12% from 3.05%. Indirect auto loan delinquencies rose to 2.89% from 2.72%. Marine loan delinquencies rose to 1.83% from 1.76%. RV loan delinquencies rose to 1.42% from 1.26%. On it goes, ladies and gentlemen. I can just go on and on. Direct auto loan delinquencies rose. Property improvement loan delinquencies rose. Home equity line of credit delinquencies rose. Non-card revolving loan delinquencies rose. And you know, what's strange is you don't see these statistics much talked about. But I assure you, as I'm sitting here, ladies and gentlemen, these are horror stories. Each and every one of these statistics that I read are a very bad sign for the economy going forward, when they are skewed as much to the downside as these are. And, I always keep an eye out for any signs that I may be wrong about the Depression, any signs that I might be mistaken because the economy is turning round and I'm not noticing it. Every day I check myself against myself. And there is nothing but doom, gloom, and deep despondency out there, ladies and gentlemen. Make no mistake, as they say. Keep it in your minds at all times. Things are getting worse. Well, here's an email from Gilbert who says, "Hi, Richard. I don't understand why this economist," that's Nouriel Roubini, "and many others feel that Germany should rescue the Eurozone. It would only weaken Germany. Is that what they want?" It's a complicated issue, Gilbert. It's very complicated. Obviously, Germany doesn't want to give away its national assets to a country like Greece, where they'll just disappear. They won't see any of it back. They'll never have any upside relief from that. They will just be prolonging the inevitable, and they know it. So it doesn't make any sense. As you point out, it will weaken the country. The trouble is, as and when Greece goes down, as I mentioned to you just on Monday with an audio portion of somebody telling us what the consequences of Greece's default would be, it is horrific for the European banks. The European banks are much more closely identified with these governments and countries than the equivalent banks would be in the United States to, for example, a major default such as a Lehman Brothers or a Bear Stearns default. So with all the cross referencing that goes on between these banks and the debts and the loans between them, and the immense degree to which these incredible banks are leveraged up to the hilt by up to 32 times their assets. It's not as easy as just saying, "Oh yeah, I think they should default," or "I think Germany should just switch off lines of communication and just soldier on doing what they do best, which is to make fabulous products that everybody wants to buy." It is much, much more complicated. And that's why I was saying, Gilbert, when I read out that piece of something which none of you probably understood, how difficult it is, how complicated it is to understand these issues without having some kind of a training in economics, because everything depends on everything else. I did once upon a time spend a lot of time preparing the listeners on the wake-up call for derivatives and what they meant, which is much easier because it's one simple phenomenon that I can explain in 5 or 10 minutes. But this question of the identification of banks with sovereign defaults, which is a grave problem, I cannot do justice to it. It's just too complicated. So I'll try. I'll think about it. It is important. It's something that is relatively important for you to know, though not of primary importance. So I'll keep the primarily important stuff for you, and then let you know when something really is urgent to discuss, like derivatives. I did feel that you should know about those. All right. Well, one more email from John, who wrote in saying, "Hi, Richard. I have added below an item from Gary's website dealing with the Wall Street protest. Yesterday was the big protest, and I went down complete with an antique FDR button on my shirt pocket. I was at the north end by the courthouses. There was a second assembly point just south by City Hall Park. I saw news trucks from all the major media outlets parked by the park, but none had their microwave antennas raised to do live coverage of the event. Yet there were thousands of people there. The media was there, yet they were not there. I will say I saw members of every major labor union in the New York City area and lots of smaller unions like the musicians who perform at all Broadway theaters and concert halls. There was a broad representation of the middle class, from lawyers to blue-collar workers. There was World War II vets and veterans of all the other conflicts, all unhappy with the Wall Street bailout and subversion of the political process. One sign said, 'Wall Street buys stocks and bonds, not congressmen.' Another sign said, 'I will believe corporations are persons when Texas executes one.' All were angry at the power of the financial community to manipulate the political process to their benefit, while the rest were left to survive on their own without jobs or retirement benefits from a Wall Street-caused depression. While there, I met 5 people from the apartment building I live in. I spoke to several protesters. Some had come from out of states to be there. There is a large unseen anger in the population that is starting to surface now, slowly. I will say the corporate powers that be did an excellent job of marginalizing a protest that drew thousands by not covering it or stating the true number of people there. We are in this mess because Wall Street started to believe their own lies. They're doing the very same thing here. Yes, there was a lot of left groups handing out their handbills, but most there were what was once called middle class. Bulk of those present were in their 20s and early 30s, with a fair representation from the over 30s population. I followed the protesters south down Broadway to Liberty Park, but was not able to get any closer than 5 or 6 blocks from it because of the crowd. Controlling the news and not reporting the true size of what took place is not going to make the protests stop. It is going to increase the anger of those screwed by the system. This reminds me of the early 1960s, when the first protests were just starting against the Vietnam War and for civil rights. Watch out. You have what appears to be a broad base from the middle class. If just 10% of middle class joins in, there will be millions on the street shortly. Sincerely, John." Well, thank you, John. An excellent description. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very proud to have been able to present to you the description of what's going on in Lower Manhattan, courtesy of one of our very own listeners. So again, John Dusmanis, thank you very much indeed for that, taking the trouble to put it all down on, well, paper or the internet, as the case may be. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about a lot of things today. I was extremely glad to give you a very eloquent account of what really is happening in your country. And I hope you have managed to take note. This particularly is important, and if you have other people that you might gain from listening to the first half of this show, please don't hesitate. Give them the website address, tell them to tune in, listen to the archives, and all will be well.